Good morning, you guys, it's Karen. I am here to talk about this, the Argireline Solution 10% from the Ordinary. At the end of this video, before I forget, I am going to clarify something about vitamin C. Hopefully I remember. Let's start by talking about what this is. Argireline is the trade name for acetohexapeptide 3, or it's sometimes referred to as 8. I'm not sure which one is correct. And so it's a peptide. It is something that has been used in skincare for about a couple of years from what I can tell. There's reviews that are as old as 2 years old, and people are talking about having used it for many months and even years before that. So it's not brand new. So how does this work? We've heard it be called Botox in a bottle and be compared to Botox. That's because it's a peptide derived from the same ingredient as Botox. And it has the same action as Botox, but a lot weaker. There's something called the snare complex, which is part of the process that signals muscles in your face to move. And this is something that interferes with that complex, meaning that there will be no firing to tell the muscles to move, or they will be less firing and the muscles won't move as forcefully. So if you have Botox, as you guys will know, I have had Botox for many, many years now, but I haven't had any for 5 months now, I think it is. It was the end of October last year that I had my first injections, and so I haven't had anything since. But if you have Botox, what it is doing is it's completely relaxing the muscles that make certain expressions. So for me, it would completely relax the muscles up here that would make me frown and pull my eyes in. And so it isn't that there was nothing topical, there's nothing done to the wrinkles, it just stops you pulling in, and therefore there is no wrinkle. With something like the horizontal lines, they're not necessarily just there when you raise your eyebrows. They're there, you know, when your eyebrows are relaxed, but that is because you are constantly making micro expressions as well as expressions every day. So an expression is you being really bold and raising your eyebrows, and a micro expression is something that you barely notice, but that every day you're moving your face a little bit. That means that the forehead will never have time to completely smooth out. It will always have some lines in it because you're constantly making expressions. So Botox works to relax the muscles that cause those expressions. Argireline works on the micro expressions only, so it won't work. It's not going to completely relax the muscle so that you have no expression. It's not that powerful. As I said, it's much, much weaker than Botox. It doesn't go as deep as Botox. Botox goes to the dermis layer, which is deeper in the skin. This works on the upper layer, but it does exactly the same thing. It interferes with the signals that tell your muscles to move. But where Botox will stop the muscle moving, this will stop it moving so forcefully. So it will make it softer. The movement will be softer. It won't be able to move as much. It's like injuring a football player as opposed to injuring them to a point where they can't play in the game anymore. Why on earth I just came up with a football analogy, I have no idea, don't ask. Just a summary of that: Botox is an injection that goes into the dermis that completely stops expressions. Argireline goes into the upper layer of the skin as a serum and stops micro expressions, but both have the same action. Something to point out with Botox though is that there are obviously more risks, hugely more risks of drooping, etc. I am going to talk about that when we talk about safety, but there's a lot more risks with Botox because it is injected, so it's breaking the skin, it's going deeper, and it is stronger. One other thing to note about Botox is that certain forms of Botox, not all, are tested on mice in a pretty horrific way. So that's another reason you might want to choose to use this instead. And let me just tell you what this doesn't do. It doesn't change the texture of your skin. It doesn't lift the skin, and it doesn't firm the skin. That's because it's not working on the skin, it's working on muscle contractions. This isn't something, although you put it on the skin, it's a very watery solution, and that's not the action of it. Doesn't change anything on the top of the skin. I mean, I guess in theory, you could get a very, very slight lift because, again, with the Botox comparison, I have it along here to stop my eyebrows pulling in, and so that's where I'll be putting this to try and stop that effect. But I also used to have a little bit on the outer corner to try and give a brow lift, but even with Botox you can only get a little bit of a brow lift. So I guess in theory you could get a tiny bit of lift that way, but it's not lifting and firming your skin. So let's have a look at the research. So Lipotech are the company that manufacture this. They are in Spain. They've done some of their own research on the 10% Argireline solution. It wasn't a double-blind study, I believe, or if it was, they haven't released the results yet. So there are no double-blind placebo studies to look at, and those are the gold standard of study. If something has been studied as a double-blind placebo study, then you can be more sure of the proof that it works. There are some other studies that have been done, some in Japan, some in China. There are some double-blind studies that have been done on humans. I think that was in China, but there's also research in animals, unfortunately. There's also research in vitro, so meaning just on a plate or in a test tube. All of those studies showed pretty much the same thing, that the results were good, but they didn't really quantify that. So it wasn't, there isn't any one consensus that you use this for a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, and there is X amount of difference, because the different studies seem to use different time frames. But there is a consensus that it is good on the few human studies that I could see that had been done, and the safety profile looks to be good. There's no irritation, or there was no irritation, but what I should point out is there's no long-term safety data on this, because this is just the beginning of the research being done. Something else to mention about this is there are some scientists out there that don't believe peptides work at all. They believe that they're too unstable and don't penetrate, and therefore are ineffective, but there's always going to be somebody that is on the opposite side, you know, and the argument will go back and forth. Okay, let's have a look at the risks, because I think this is going to be a big question that people will have. There are rumours of people that have had droopy skin after using this, and I just cannot figure out how, other than one of the stories was about only half of her face drooping, which to me sounds like palsy, like a medical condition, not from something caused by skincare. But I think there are some people out there that feel that their lines have got worse, but I can't really find much information on that at all, other than people talking about it, if you see what I mean. I can't find the sources themselves. The first thing I'd tell you, for those of you that like Dr. Oz, is Dr. Oz has got a video up on YouTube talking about Argireline, and it's fairly old, and he says specifically at the end of it that some people believe it makes the skin sag, but it doesn't go deep enough, and that would be my opinion. It doesn't go deep enough to affect the muscles of the face enough to make your skin sag, and it doesn't have any effect on the skin. This is something that is working on muscles and the firing of signals to the muscles, not on the actual skin elasticity, etc. I think that it's too weak to do anything that drastic, but I was thinking through the whole Botox thing, because I was actually looking up about there's an article I found that says there's some new research about atrophy in Botox use therapeutically. Atrophy is where your muscles waste. I've actually experienced atrophy when I had a knee operation. I had the knee operation on my right knee, and after, I think it was the 3-month period of being on crutches and in a wheelchair, when I stood up, one leg was half the size of the other because my whole thigh muscle had wasted, and then I started physio to be able to walk properly again. And that's muscle wastage, and that kind of muscle wastage is absolutely not what you want. You do not want that kind of atrophy. And I think this is what's happening at therapeutic doses, which I don't know, may be higher or lower than cosmetic Botox, but they're not talking about cosmetic Botox. However, there is a bit of controversy over whether or not you can get atrophy from Botox. So the idea is if you are constantly weakening the muscle and it's not being used, then it could waste. But that's two sides of the same coin, or there's two ways of looking at it. And to me, I've written down here in a little smiley face, atrophy is good. But what I mean by that is a practitioner that's doing Botox will tell you that if you start early enough and you have Botox in the right place, then eventually your muscle will get too weak to cause those expressions. And so you are preventing lines from forming. That's atrophy. They're saying the same thing, but other people are saying your muscles will waste and it's terrible. But for example, back to this where I have had Botox, to stop this line coming here, I want to knock out the muscles that make me frown inwards. If those muscles weaken and don't work anymore, I'm okay with that, because the only function of those muscles is to make me frown. So using a serum all over your face, I can see why people would be concerned that you're perhaps going to weaken your muscles and therefore cause sagging or something like that. But it's just too weak, in my opinion, to do that. Especially this is not the strongest formula. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the action of it is the same as Botox, but it's a lot weaker. There still is a chance that you could get reactions in your face in the places you don't want reactions. I'm not sure that I'm using the right language here. Hopefully I come across okay. I'll give you an example of the forehead, and I don't know whether all of you have watched my Botox video where I tell you exactly where to have the injections to not avoid your brow being pushed down. As some of you will know, that's happened to me a couple of times. And what that is if you've got horizontal lines on your forehead, if you want them smoothed out, then you need to, if you think about it, you need to stretch the skin like that, so that you smooth out the lines. That will, especially because it's working on the muscles, push the eyebrows down. If you are going to use this in your horizontal lines, you need to be aware of that very same thing. But it's not going to be noticeable. It's not going to be anywhere near the same as with Botox. But if you are putting it all over your forehead, then you are sending signals to those muscles to relax and to stop constantly, when you raise your eyebrows, to stop the constant wrinkling. And so it should make a less forceful raise of the eyebrow. That's as much as this could cause. So where that could be a problem would be in somebody like me that doesn't want my eyebrows to be pushed down at all. I have enough problems with hooded eyes and droopy eyes that I actually want a lift, as you know. And so for me, I'm going to put it where I get my Botox, which is along the top of my eyebrow and here, and see how I get on and see what happens. Safe in the knowledge that it will never be as dramatic as the issues I've had with Botox. And if I don't like the effects, they will remove quicker than Botox. You know, Botox takes 3 or 4 months to wear off. I'm only now getting back the movement of being able to raise my eyebrows. And I will just switch up where I use this. But I'm not going to use it, for example, around here, because I don't really know how these muscles work. I've never looked into them. I've never had Botox in this area. I would quite like to get rid of my nose to mouth lines, but if I ever decide to use it for that, I will investigate, well, where should I be putting it exactly, so that I don't get the opposite effect. That may sound alarming, but I don't think you should be alarmed. But I think that you should be aware that this is really for lines in the eye area. So in this area, that's where it's been tested. It's really just been tested on crow's feet. All of the pictures I've seen have been crow's feet, and all of the research is talking about crow's feet. Like I said, I'm going to test it up here. It should in theory work on your horizontal lines as well, but you just need to be wary of the fact that, you know, if anything, you will see a bit of a pushing down on the brow, but I don't even like saying that because it just won't be that noticeable. But as far as risks go, anyway, I think that there is very minimal risk, and it's more about where you put the solution. So let's talk about the formula and how to use it. Okay, so the formula is like water, literally like water. That's what it comes out like. It's on my hand there, and it just goes on like water. Wouldn't know any difference. There's no scent to it. There's no perfume in it, no scent whatsoever. It feels like nothing on your skin. When I watched Dr. Oz's video, which I will link for you, he said that it would sting going on, but this one doesn't sting. That may be because it's only 10%. When I say only, I should have said about this in the research section, but the research was mostly done on 30% in China. In the Lipotech research, i.e. the company that manufactures this, only did their research on the 10% argireline, but the other research that I found in China and Japan was on 30%. That's where the efficacy has been found on lines. The most improved, the best outcome has happened in people that have used 30%. You can get this 10% from The Ordinary. You can get a 20% on eBay, which is by a company called Gaina, Gaina. I've never heard of them. They don't say very much on their eBay page, and so I wouldn't be keen on buying skincare from somebody I can't really find much about. But there is a 30% from Westerwood. This will be most of interest to you in the US, and I'm so bummed for us in the UK because it's a 30% pure serum, and it's been available for a few years from the look of it, because there is another video on YouTube, and that's how I found out that there is this serum. I was looking at what videos there were on Argireline. You know, I watch, in order to prepare for these videos, I do my own research, make my own notes, and then I watch videos to see has anybody had any bad side effects, what do people think of it in general, that kind of thing. And there was somebody that said she couldn't buy it for a while, I think, but then she found this serum and it's at Westerwoods. So like I said, I'm bummed for us in the UK because it's a great price. I think it's $8. But I was actually going to buy it, but you go through to the end and it's $30 shipping to the UK, which is just ridiculous. I mean, we shouldn't pay customs on it over and above that, but it means that the solution is £25. It works out about £25, including postage. I'm tempted to get that because that's a 30% and this is 10%. And if I'm going to use something, I want to use the highest solution possible. The Ordinary may come out with a higher solution going forward, but for you guys in the USA, that might be of interest to you. Or start with this one and see what you think, and then if you like the results, move on to the 30%. So it doesn't sting, it doesn't pill, you know, it doesn't do that balling up thing, and it doesn't moisturise either. Your skin, the only effect is maybe my skin felt a little bit tight using it, so you would need to perhaps use a moisturiser on top. I used my litmus paper to see what the pH was. I haven't worked out the pH of it, and litmus paper is just an indication, and it's about 5, something like that. So I don't think there's anything to be concerned about with what you're putting on it, over it, but I wouldn't probably use my acids with this. I would probably just use this. I'm going to use it probably more like an eye cream. I'm going to put it around my crow's feet where it's been seen to be most effective, and I'm going to put it along my eyebrow and in this middle bit here. I won't use this on my neck because these lines that you see on your neck, I would love a solution to these, but lines on your neck are from excess weight or excess fat build up in the neck, which is probably some of my issue. Loose skin, so I guess if you've lost loads of weight, that could affect it as well. And also genetics. I've pretty much had these lines in my neck since I was a teenager. I keep meaning to have a look back through some photos to see how bad it was, but I've got a photo of me at age 19 and I have the lines in my neck then, so and I was a skinny mini then, so it's definitely for me genetics. So the reason I'm not going to put it on here though is because I don't want to affect any muscles in my neck in any way, shape or form. So it wouldn't affect these lines anyway because they're not expression lines. The only way this could be an expression line is if I put my head down too much, then it probably pushes the lines down, you know. But I'm not going to use this, and it's not going to stop me putting my head down. There's nothing really around here contracting to cause these lines, so it's not going to help on my neck. Like I said, I'm mostly going to use it just in my eye area, almost as an eye cream. I may go slightly under my eyebrow just at the end. I may not, because of course with it being a serum, it will migrate to a certain amount, and I don't know what the difference is between how much Botox migrates and how much this migrates, and I don't want to put it across my whole eye because I don't want to end up causing my eye to droop, and there are some areas to be careful of around there. Something that may be interesting to you is that it will actually work better for you the older you are. The older you are, the more efficient this will be, simply because, remember I said it's working on the upper part of the skin. The thinner your skin is, the better this works. And obviously as we age, your skin gets thinner. But conversely, that means that if you have thick skin, and there's no real way of testing out if you have this thick skin, but for me, I've had a lot of acne over the years on my chin, and so a lot of inflammation, and that will have thickened the skin on my chin. So thankfully I'm not using it on my chin. I haven't had any acne up this area, you know, but if you are older it will work better, which I thought was nice. It's about time there was some benefit to being older. Actually, I'm saying that, and I wouldn't go back to being in my 20s if you paid me. I've been using this for 4 days, well 3 days and today. I put it on this morning. Again, I should say about the research while I'm thinking about it. The suggestion is to use it twice a day, and all of the research that's been done has been using it twice a day. So if you think about the research that has shown that reduction in crow's feet is on 30% twice a day. This is 10%. So I do say that you need to use this twice a day if you're going to see results. What that has meant for me in the mornings is that I wipe away my eyeshadow. So some people do their foundation and then their eyeshadow. Other people do their eyeshadow and then their foundation. I don't like doing my eyeshadow first. It's just not something I'm comfortable with, but it will work better if you do it that way. For me, this morning I did my eyeshadow and then I had lots of fallout because I used a pigment. And so I used a wet wipe to wipe away the pigment, but I thought, well, you know, I don't know whether I've wiped away where I put the solution. So I put the solution on again, and then I put my under eye concealer on. After finishing my makeup this morning, I came through and took a picture just of my eye area and compared it to the picture I took on whenever I started using this, before I started using this. So this would be, I've used it twice a day for 3 days. No, I used it once on the first day, then on the second day I used it twice a day. Yesterday I used it twice, and then I used it once this morning. So it's about, what, 7 uses, something like that. There is absolutely no difference, but I didn't expect there to be. There isn't much information on how long it will take to work. I did read some information that said it would work within a few days, but would stop as soon as you stopped. That didn't really make sense to me, but that's why I took the photos, just in case it did work that quickly. Some of the research was showing results after 2 weeks. Some of the research was showing results after 30 days. 30 days makes more sense to me because you need to give the... I don't know whether I explained it well, and this was keeping me awake last night thinking, am I going to be able to get this point across? Say you didn't use any creams or serums. Say you've got horizontal lines, so you've got lines going across your forehead and you don't use any creams or serums, but somehow you could get hypnotized into not raising your eyebrows, and you just kept your eyebrows in the same place and didn't raise them. The wrinkles would disappear because there would be no micro expressions. You would give the skin time to smooth out and to relax, or the muscles relax, and therefore the skin would appear smooth. And this applies not just to the lines that are there when you raise your eyebrows, but the ones that are there when your eyebrows are relaxed. They will definitely fade if you weren't moving your eyebrows. So this is just assisting you in that. So to me, that's not something that's going to happen in a couple of days, because you need time to pass for this to relax, you know, for the area to relax. And so I think 30 days is a more appropriate time frame. I do agree with, if you stop using this, the effects would go away, not immediately, but it would be, you know, a downhill. Like I'm saying, it will take 30 days to get to the point where you see a difference. I think it would drop off on a 30-day slant, for example, because this is not, it's kind of cumulative, but it's not permanent. This is not something that has a permanent effect. It stops everyday expressions, and in the process of stopping everyday expressions, your skin is allowed to relax and become crease free, or, well, that would be the ideal, but become less creased, less wrinkled. But if you stopped it, then the micro expressions would start again and you would start to form new wrinkles. But it can help, of course, prevent new ones if it prevents the micro expressions. I hope that makes sense. So I could have waited a month to tell you about the exact results and what it looks like, but there's 2 reasons I didn't do that, because I was actually asked in one of my videos, could you please use things for longer before you talk to us? But I do tend to do first impressions videos, and especially when it's something as popular as this Argireline, because I think people want to know, what's the research, what's the risks, how do I use it? I think they want to know more than is just on the website. So that's one reason I do the video immediately. But the second reason is that, as I said, if you've got thinner skin, it's going to work better. If you've got more crow's feet, it's probably going to be more effective because there's more there to work with. If you make more expressions, it's going to work better. If you make less expressions, it's going to be less effective. There's so many variables that it won't, although it will be informative, I think, me showing you the difference it makes on my eyes, it won't necessarily mean that it won't show you how it's going to work or otherwise on you. So what I'm going to do is, in 30 days, I will take some more photos of my face, compare them to the photos that I took 4 days ago. Well, my face, I mean eyes, just around my eye area, really looking at the crow's feet, but I will also have a look at this. But there isn't really any wrinkles here, so I would need to talk about that because it's to do with like the movement. But I will take photos, and I will either do results with Argireline video, or I will talk about it in another video and put the photos on Instagram and put a note in the description of this video, something like that. But I didn't want you to wait 30 days to see that. I'm really quite excited by this because I'm excited and I'm also cautious, and I'm cautious because I need to make sure that I put it in the right place, and I don't want even a tiny bit of droop on my brow after what I've gone through with the Botox. But at the same time, I'm excited because if I can get, you know, even 25% of the effect I get with Botox, that would be good for me. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the results are, and it is something I believe that works because, you know, the chemistry makes sense, and it'll be interesting to see what the long-term results are. I suppose the only thing is there's no long-term safety data, so that's if you want to know are you taking a risk, that's the risk you're taking. But that's the same with any study, with any new product, with any novel product. Anyway, I hope that was interesting information for you. Let me know what you think, if you are going to try this, where you're going to use it, if you've already bought it, if you're already using it. Yeah, I'd love to know what your opinion is, and hopefully you'll see me in 30 days time with less crow's feet. Maybe you should watch out on each video, have a look and see if, let me know if you think my crow's feet are diminishing, because it's so much easier to tell when I'm watching back a video than it is just looking in the mirror. I don't know that this is necessarily a more truer version, but it's a clearer version, and I can of course zoom in and have a look and watch me moving, you know, so it's going to be really interesting to me. I've recorded my video on my work experience and qualifications, etc., so that'll be coming up in either tomorrow or in a couple of days time, I'm not sure. I've tried to put these videos up pretty quickly. Normally I would have spaced these out over a week, which would give me a longer time to make more videos. So when these videos are all up, you may find a space of 2 or 3 days. I'm not sure yet how that's going to work out, but I wanted to get them up quickly because I know that I'd had a lot of requests about whether to get the 2% or the 1% from the retinoid, and also about this Argireline. I know that a lot of people will want to know the basic information about it. So hopefully that video will answer everybody's questions. But I do ask you to remember, as I said before, I'm not a skincare expert. I'm no longer working in the hospital in a science capacity. I'm not a scientist, you know, I don't know all of the information about these things. I go and research it and interpret it from the knowledge that I have. So clarify about the vitamin C. In that video I did about mixing skincare, etc., etc., I think I said at the beginning that this was about generic skincare and about mixing generic skincare, because I don't know what everybody's using, but I was using the Ordinary to represent the products, and so I showed the vitamin C suspension. I think I did point out that the pH won't apply to vitamin C, or that it will be a different pH if you use a derivative. And I can't remember, to be honest, if I edited it out or I forgot to say that there will also be a different pH if you use a vitamin C combined with hyaluronic acid, and there will also be there is a different pH for suspensions such as these. Like I said, I can't remember if I edited it out or purposely, or whether I just forgot to say it. It seems like so long ago since then, because I've done that other video on retinoid, etc. If I did not say it, it would be because from what I've seen on the internet, not many people are using this or liking it. Everybody I've seen reviewing this doesn't like it. I have yet to come across anybody that likes this. There is one person that commented on that video that said they mix it with their hyaluronic acid and they enjoy using it that way, but everybody else I know doesn't like it and isn't using it, me included. So I didn't feel to point that out because, you know, some people did say it was a very complex video and it was a lot to take in, and so I didn't want to add more and more things onto it, you know, and say, well, accept this and accept that and accept that. But in hindsight, somebody, a scientist guy, has actually pointed it out to me about the pH, and him and I have kind of talked backwards and forwards, and on reading through it, I think, yeah, I probably should have mentioned it, that if you're using the Ordinary vitamin C suspension or any suspension that has no water in it, then the pH is not relevant. There is no pH, so you can use it with what you want, basically. So apologies for not saying that in the video, but like I said, and as I said to him, the video actually started off nearly twice the size, but it's trying to find the balance between people that want every single detail and people that want just the basic information. And I know when I do videos that there will always be people that say I went on too long, and there will be some people that point out the things I didn't say. You know, it's trying to please all of the